Good evening, Shaggy SoCal with 2Old4Forza, and it's time for the next track guide in TNT Season 40. Again, I didn't. Again, I'm not able to race with you guys on Thursdays this season, just the way the schedule works. But what little bit I caught of the race at Sebring, it seems this car that raced pretty well, and you guys seem to enjoy it. Um, we'll see how we'll see how you like the car this after this week. Um, what I'll do is, again, for these track guides, I'll do a quick out lap. Then I'll do kind of a slower lap, just kind of going turn by turn. Talk about what I look at, what the car seems to want to do, which is not necessarily what you want it to do. It kind of does what it wants to do. And then I'll run a mock race, kind of put kind of the pointers on the track guide, the test with some questionable racecraft against the AI, and we'll go from there. But let's get ahead and get into test drive. Actually, first thing I'm going to do to make my life a little easier is we're just going to do that on manual. That makes the shifting on the slow lap easier. And let's go test drive. And the one thing I can tell you right out of the gate is, Sebring this car, tricky to get the handling on it, but the nice thing about Sebring is it's pretty flat, and really the biggest concern then was curbing. I think I heard it, someone said on the broad during the race, at least through Fusion's stream, I thought I heard him say that that what's the rule at Sebring, stay off the curbs. Well, with this car and the setup here and for Spa, curbs are this track is a little more curb friendly, but the elevation changes and are going to be interesting. Uh, Again, so that's the big change here. Now, the funny thing is when we tuned this car, for those of us that were part of that kind of that development, this is where we spent most of our time. So this car should do pretty well here, but it will bite you if you're not careful. And there are certainly just some places where, well, you'll see it here towards the end of the lap, where this car is going to be a little bit sketchy. Here. Pablo. That was the right front coming off the ground and going back down for that clunk that you heard. Okay, so that's just kind of a flying lap there of Spa. So let's just kind of get in and talk about the lap a little bit slower here. So coming down to turn one, what the source. Again, for the braking line, the other thing I'm looking for is I kind of gauge it off of these Forza banners that are along the side. So again, depending on the car and the class that you're in, you might adjust your braking accordingly. So I think it's right about where that white banner there on the inside, or just underneath the rearview mirror, that's usually the one that kind of, for me at least, lines up best with what the braking line shows. If you get a good run onto the front straight, I kind of keep that kind of in my peripheral as I'm kind of watching that. As that kind of goes out of my view, that's about when I'm braking for turn one here. Second gear corner for me, and get the braking done, release the brakes, turn in, and you can use quite a bit of the inside. You can cross over quite a bit on the corner here. You don't want to cut it too tight, because you might get a time penalty. But the worst thing I think is hitting the barrier, then that'll pitch the car out. But second gear, I'm really not rolling back into the throttle till I get past the apex. And then just full throttle out. And I'm actually coming down into Eau Rouge and Redalion. You can, in the test laps I've done, you can wind this car up to fourth gear, and you'll just be, if you get a good run out of the source, you'll get a good you'll be pegging the rev limiter just as you're getting to Eau Rouge here at the bottom of the hill. Personally, I even though I'm only in fifth for a second or two, I find it's more comfortable for me to put it in fifth, heading into not Redalion, into Eau Rouge. Redalion's coming next. But what I'm trying to do is as I'm bringing the car down, I'll start to turn in. Now, the funny thing is, I think when we were here in the Radical, I was talking, I spent quite a bit of time here kind of saying how you line up is I'm trying to line it up where I'm kind of parallel with the outside curve here on the left, kind of pointing up towards the first sign. Honestly, when the laps I've been running here, I'm so focused on just getting the car. I'm looking down here to the inside here on the inside curving to get the car set. I'm really not looking up the billboards up there because but again, if you kind of want to figure out where you want to be lined up, this is about where I'll be in and around there. Again, this is one of those where I'm consistently inconsistent. I don't think there's any consecutive laps where I will do the exact same thing or the car will do the exact same thing through here up over Redalion. So usually again, fifth gear for me. I hit as I get to this curving here at the bottom of the hill. It's real quick, hard on the brakes, briefly just to get the car slowed down to fourth gear. Release the brakes to turn in, and I'm really at this point I'm really not rolling back into the throttle fully. It might go back in a little bit, maybe to kind of try and rebalance the car. But the main thing here is after I've kind of done the initial braking to scrub the speed and I release the brake and turn in, I'm kind of using that tire scrub of turning plus going uphill and gravity to kind of finish settling the car down and slow it down. Because what I'm most concerned about is getting the car to this inside curb and pointed, right about here's about the apex. And I kind of want to be pointed up the hill in fourth gear, because what this car is going to do, despite the fact that we have downforce on the front, that we've got that splitter on the front, the front end of this car is going to get light as you crest this hill. There's no way around it. And if the straighter you can get the car at this point as you crest the hill for Redalion and start to turn back to the left, the straighter you can have the car as you crest the hill, the easier this is going to be, and the less likely you're going to have to be to come out of the throttle or like that to adjust the car. It can be a bit sketchy, and you might feel, depending on what you're doing with the wheel, with your steering as you crest this hill, you're going to feel the front end get light, and then just depending on what happens when the weight starts to transition back to the front tires, the front might take off on you a little bit. It might, if you've got a little bit of steering to the right, the car might move to the right a little bit or move to the left as those front tires come back onto the road, fully back, and you get some grip back on the front. But if you do it right, you should be able to hold full throttle. Maybe just kiss the inside of the curbing here and just kind of let the car just naturally drift out. You really, the less steering you can do as you crest that hill, the better. So that's why at the bottom of the hill, it's more critical to get the speed scrubbed and get the car turned in so you're pointed as straight as possible to come up over the hill, so that you're not, you'll see when it's at speed, it'll make more sense when you see me do it at speed and make mistakes. But again, still fourth gear, you'll probably be shifting back to fifth. Again, allow the natural curve of the road to bring the car back out the left side. You'll be up in fifth gear at this point, and then getting ready to brake for, I think this is Lacombe, this next section of turns. It's kind of funny when I look at the spot track map. It's some of the names seem to refer more to a section of turns than a specific turn. So I think this next right, left, right combo is Lacombe. Braking is right about the 100 board, at least for me. And that's so if you can't see the braking line, if you're really following somebody closely, just know that 100 board is about where you would probably brake if you're on your own. Certainly, if you're following somebody, you might want to just release the throttle a little bit early, a split second early, and then hit the brakes, unless you're going to try and pass them into Lacombe. So again, fifth gear. I'm braking. I'm braking, but I'm downshifting to third gear for these next set of turns, and I'm finding I'm using third quite a bit through here. It's the revs aren't so low where I think second will work better. I think there's enough torque in third to get through here and not lose a lot of speed. But third gear. And if you've watched any of my track guides before, you know that anytime that we have combinations of corners here, right, left, in this case, a right, left, right, that final right-hander to head down the hill towards, I think it's Bruxelles is next. That's the most important turn of the combo. So I can sacrifice a little bit of my speed through these corners to get set up for that third one. So usually what I try to do is, if I do it right and the car decides to let me do it right, is I'll late apex this one here a little bit, and then I'm actually going to use quite a bit of the inside curbing here as much as I can. And again, won't always be consistent, but the idea is I don't want to go all the way out to the right side in the exit here. I want to be about mid-track at most. I want to really try and keep it on the left side. It makes it easier to bring the car back across, and it gives you that fraction more time to get it set up for the next corner. I'll even start cheating over the curb here a little bit. Still third gear through here. If you do start getting on the curbing, just be careful. Try and leave yourself a little wiggle room. This curbing, you can tell, is nice and flat. You can use it. It's just the danger is you don't want to get the left side, especially the left rear, off in the grass as you turn in for this corner. It'll pitch the car sideways on entry, and then you're just going to lose all sorts of speed trying to recover it. So still third gear, turning in through here. This inside curb, you can see it's nice and flat. You can use quite a bit of it. So usually if I do it right, I'm going to use as much of this inside curb as I can without getting on the grass, because you saw what happened when I was doing the outlap initially down at Blanchemont, where I kind of got it into the grass and it hooked the car. That can happen here too if you're not careful. So use a bit of that inside curb, roll back into the throttle, full throttle. You'll feel, if you do it right on a good lap and you're in a good rhythm, you'll feel the back tires, as you get back to full throttle, you'll feel the back tires spin up a little bit, and you just kind of get in that nice bit of four-wheel drift out of the corner, which is nice. It's kind of nice to do. Again, exit curb nice and flat here, so you can get out and cross over it if you need to, and then bring it back across. Still third gear. I might bring up to fourth, heading down here. I think this is Bruxelles. Braking is just before the curbing on the left side here. I don't have a specific point, but when in doubt, look for the curbing. Just know you got to brake a little bit before that. So for this next corner, I've been doing it, if I'm on my own, I've been doing it in third. And though if you're in traffic, if you're in heavy traffic, or you're trying to make a pass on the inside, you're probably going to take it to second. My only warning on that is if you're going to drop it to second going into this turn, it's kind of like what I talked about at Tower Turn at Sebring. That gearing from third to second is a bit wider than you expect. So when you drop it to second, it's going to lock the rear up a little bit, and you might feel the back end, kick out on downshift. I don't think it's as bad if you're just running manual transmission, but if you're running manual with clutch, just be aware that the back end might kick out a little bit if you do drop it to second here. I usually like to try and hug the inside, maybe wide entry and hug the inside the way through the corner, about where this green stripe is, or maybe even not. I'll start to bring it back out. Still third gear for me. cross this line a little bit and bring the car back across. Um, there is no definitive braking point, turn-in point. This is quite a barren turn as far as looking for additional reference points. I think when we were here in the radical, it's like, for me, it's like, if you really can't see the braking line, just know that it's about where you really want to brake and start to get the car turned in for this next corner is about halfway between where that curving starts and where it ends, essentially. So when you get about halfway down this curving, maybe a little bit past it, you're going to brake. You can get on this curving a little bit as well, and then turn in. This inside curving, still third gear. I tend not to get on this, and again, because it's really easy to cross over and hook the car on the grass. I usually tend to stay off of it. And then on the exit as well, I might get on the curbing here a little bit. Again, very curb-friendly track here at Spa. Third gear, fourth gear. Now we head down to Puhan. This one, I don't have a preference, as far as gearing. So where I'm braking for Puhan is right about where the TV stand here is. And I tend, once I get on the brakes, I actually start to angle the car in a little bit earlier than what the braking line suggests. So again, I'm not saying that the braking line is wrong. I'm just saying what I do. You guys do figure out what works best for you. But I'm kind of torn because this is one of those areas where I think fourth gear is better, but you might find downshifting to third on the entry and then upshifting to fourth on exit works better for you. Again, it's kind of that balance I always talk about. Is the car? Do you want to put the car on its toes or on its heels, or have it a little more relaxed in fourth gear, or a little more I don't want to say nervous, but you get the gist of it. So again, if you're going to leave it in fourth or third, I'm usually braking here, releasing it, and then usually where the suggested line of the braking line, I kind of meet up with it. Then I kind of follow that through the rest of Puhan. So again, you'll track it out. This outside curving comes up quick, so just be mindful of it. The nice thing here with Spa, as far as the track limits, it is very forgiving if you go wide here in Puhan. I guess the game, the way it calculates, if you've, yes, you violated track limits, but I think because you're going out so wide, you're not gaining any time, so it's, you can get away with going wide if you need to. So third or fourth gear, what I'm looking for to turn in for the next corners, I am kind of looking at the TV crane there. That's not necessarily the apex. The apex, at least in my opinion, and I think by the braking line is a little bit past that. But if you can kind of use that TV crane as kind of a point to kind of target, to say, hey, I've got to start getting in the inside of the next corner by the time I'm getting to that camera. You'll still be out a little bit there. Apex is right about here. If you're in third, you're going to be upshifting probably about the time you get to the apex. I don't know that you can really wind it all the way out in third, all the way out to exit. You're going to have to shift before the exit. I think that's part of the reason why I like fourth all the way through here. But I'll try it both ways in the mock race. We'll see what happens. Let the car come out, use a bit of this exit curbing, bring it back across. Braking for me for this next corner is right about where I think it's right about where between that Forza sign and the gantry and the start of the curbing. It's kind of in there is where I'm braking. I'm usually probably keying off of when that sign drops out of my visibility. But if I'm in fourth gear, that's a third gear. This is a third gear corner. And like the exit of Puhan, I'm using the TV crane as a guide to get the car in. But I'm apexing right about where you can see the green inside curbing here. kind of using that as far as where I need the car to be in the inside. Again, the right-left combo. So I'm going to hug the inside here a little bit more, compromise my exit here, so that I'm on the right side, so I can actually make this more of a normal turn. And it's a nice standard 90-degree right-hander. You can use the inside curving there. Bring it all the way out, still third gear. You can use the exit curving there. Bring the car back across into Stavlo, I believe this is. Braking for me is right about where this curving starts. That should line up pretty well with the braking line. I've been taking this in third gear. I've been leaving it in third. Turn in, look for the green. You can use the curving just past it. Bring the car back out, still in third gear. And I'm going to use as much as I can. I'm going to use as much of this outside curbing to open up the turn onto I don't know if it's the backstretch or maybe the final straight. And I forget what the name of this corner is. But what I'm lining up for is what I'm looking at is I'm approaching here, and you can see the inside curbing where my turn-in point I'm kind of gauging is when the start of that inside curving starts to go off screen. So I'm going to be in third gear. I'm going to start turning in right about just as that starts to go. I'll turn in. And what I'm going to try and do is get to the inside curb and follow it out, get to the inside of the curbing just about where the green part ends. I might be on the curbing a little bit. I may not. I may be just off of it. Start to roll back into the throttle and let the car just drift out. I might barely get on this outside curbing. This outside curbing, you can tell compared to some of the other ones, it is a bit raised. It does have, hard to tell from here, but there is a bit of a ridge to it. You can get your left sides on it, but be careful how much steering you use to get off of it and where you're and how much weight is still on the left side of the car. I've had, the back end's done some wiggly things transitioning off of it. So just know it's there if you need it. Just be mindful, this curbing will upset the car more than a lot of the other ones that you're going to run over. So fourth gear, fifth gear, as you're racing down the stretch here. Usually then I'll bring the car back across the left side. And then we're heading, and then for this turn, and I usually do try to bring it all the way to the inside so that when the car drifts out, I'm not getting caught by surprise by the track limits on the right side. Early in the race, and this is just my bad habits or how I need to get up to speed. Early in the race, I won't be crossing over this line at all. It always takes me a few laps to get into rhythm and kind of get the flow and get used to the car. But as the race goes on, I'll start drifting this car much further out. I mean, as far as the game's going to let me. For Blanchemont here, this is the other thing that you're going to notice is first part of that turn as you're coming through it, as you're hitting the apex and bringing the car out, it's very bumpy, and the car's going to, to quote James May, buffeting as you come out of the corner. It's just deal with it as best you can, but you're going to hit a bit of, it's going to be a little bumpy coming out of that first part. When you line up here, what we were finding in testing and probably what I'm going to be doing in the mock race is for my eyes and as far as for Blanchemont, I'm going to brake slightly. For me, I'm just going to just quick brush of the brakes and downshift from fifth to fourth gear. I'll be in fourth gear entering the corner, and what I'm using to kind of help gauge when I'm doing that is I'm going to back the car up just a little bit because the things my eyes gravitate towards coming out of as I come out of the first part there, you can see the trees on the left side. So the very last tree on the left there, see how it sticks out a little bit more? You can kind of see the sky through it. I kind of have that tree in the peripheral as kind of a reference. And just as I pass that, you notice, and I'm actually just going to drive over to it. See the white box here? I have no idea what that is. Looks like a cement box. It might be, who knows. Keep that in mind. I'm using that between that and that tree. That's about where I'm hitting the brakes and turning in. And it's really it's a cadence kind of thing for me. Is I'll be here as that goes. I'll be braking. Quick brush the brake down to fifth, and then hopefully start to turn the car in. And depending on how well I do it, I may start rolling back on the throttle, early. Hopefully by apex, I can really start rolling back into the throttle. As you saw in my outlap, you can get on this curbing just a little bit. Be careful. If you do cross over, it's going to hook the car sideways. If you know to expect it, I mean, you'll know when you turn in if you're going to cross over, but just know that, if you do hook and the car slides out, just keep your foot in it, keep your steering steady. The car should just slide out a little bit. It'll cost you a little bit of speed down the last part of the straight here, but you should be able to hold it. I would not recommend doing that every lap, but can use a little bit of the inside of the curb. So fourth gear here, bring the car out. You can use a little bit of this exit curbing there, but also that's bumpy there as well. Just be mindful. Coming down to the final chicane, if you get a really good exit out of Blanchemont, you're going to be banging the rev limiter just before you start braking. And I think when I try to look down at the speedometer to see where the mile per hour is at, it's like 163 miles an hour. What I found is if I've gotten a really good exit out of Blanchemont in fourth, I'll upshift it to fifth and get those couple extra mile an hour. I think like 167 by the time I have to brake for the final chicane. So I'll be on the right side here. I'm going to let the curve bring the car back over to the left. Where I am braking at is this 150 board here, I believe, on the left side. So as I'm passing that 150 board, that's when I'm getting on the brakes, down to second gear. Brake, 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 and again, left-right combo. So I'm going to compromise the entry so that I'm all the way over here on the right. And it's actually, for me, it's a good habit to get into because when it comes time to go to pit lane, I'm lined straight to go to pit lane. So if you are consistent with that, that will make pit entry a little bit easier. And then still second gear, let off the throttle, get to the apex, roll back into the throttle, and that is a lap of Spa in the GT40. So what we're going to do is I'm going to finish the test drive, and I'm going to do a mock race. And I've been playing around with the AI because it's always fun trying to find fun. Yeah, well, not really, but it's trying to find good AI, at least that is comparable and maybe a little bit slower, maybe a little bit quicker, just to try and give me some traffic to work through. So let me set the assist back to manual clutch. And so for today's race, starting up front, we're going to do the Radical SR8 spec. I played around and thought of as far as PI wise, I thought of using the Radical RXCs that we raced a couple seasons ago because they're like PI's 914, so it's a little bit higher than the SR8. But the funny thing is they were slower here than the SR8s. So we'll go with these guys to start up front. Starting a little bit behind them, we're actually going to do Formula 70s. They seem to have PI-wise and lap time, they seem to run pretty well. I think it's another case of, I think for both of those groups in front of me, it's really a case of I will probably outrun them on a straightaway, but they should be able to out-corner me or at least keep up with me. At least we'll be comparable there. And then group 3, that's going to start. They're actually going to start in front of me. They're quicker, but they're going to start in front of me anyway. is the early prototype racers, essentially Group C cars. Um, and then I'll bring up the rear starting 60 seconds back. So it'll kind of be like a normal TNT race for me, where I'll probably be hot lapping early, then start catching traffic as we get into the meat of the race. Go ahead and back out of that, and I want to check one other thing. Aha, that should be off. I like. Maybe that was part of the reason why I was having issues with trying to find competitive AI, because I was not letting them be aggressive. All right, so let's go ahead and start the race. I want to do 15 laps because I think that's about what half distance will be for Thursday. So we'll see what the end race time looks like, and we'll guesstimate what you might be facing on Thursday. And let's go ahead and start the race. Jag there. Oh, Nissan. Ferrari. Oh, nice. Okay, we got nice Ferrari 333. I don't know what's in front of Jag. I think that's the Jag. That's not the Castrol Jag. That might be. Yeah, I think that has to be the Jag. And Formula 70s. Ooh, a Bronner Hawk. That'll be interesting. Raced one of those on Hot Lap Challenge. I mean, it's not it's in that class. It's not. It's an Indy car, not a Formula One car. So handling not as nimble, but once that turbo spools up on a straight, that car is fast in a straight line. I think I used it in a Hot Lap Challenge Formula 70s at Monza, and a lot of fun. Ooh, it looks like a Sauber up front of the Group C. I already kind of see the front end get light there. On the hill. How we do? You can kind of see, next time we go through, you can kind of see how the front end's kind of wobbly. The other thing too is I do think the front end's gonna bottom out as you hit the compression there. So that's also gonna play around with the handling there a little bit. Ooh. A little bit late on the turn in. But you can even hear that, because I turned a little more harshly, you could hear the left front tire come off the ground and place back down like a funk. The other thing I do as well when you practice is, as much as you can, listen to what the tires are doing, and then kind of build that library up of, hey, if the tire's making this sound, it's really lost a lot of grip, or it's right at the edge. Bumpy, bumpy. A little bit of rear wheel spin. Huh. Well, the Group C car's pitting early. Guess they don't want to try and pass traffic and do the undercut. interesting. And again, things look different at speed. There is, if you watch kind of how inside that right side curbing curves heading up over Medallion, or as you kind of make the right hander to start going up over the hill, you're going to see there's going to be a point where it's a little bit sharper of a turn. Might be a good thing if you can spot it. That might be a good thing to aim for as far as an apex. I always feel like I'm slow. Didn't mean to do that. Buffeting. That was the left front coming off the ground. Right there. You can kind of see it. It's just a point that I'm noticing now. That's like that's probably a good place to apex there. I cut that a little bit more than I think I could. Do this. Just confidence lift on the throttle because I was starting to push a little too wide. Alright, that was probably the last clean lap I'm going to get for a while. Oh, that was late. I think all but one of the Group C cars have hit it early. I think of the Formula 70s cars did well. Oh, this is gonna be dicey. Whoa, whoa, tank slapper. That was all because I lifted while I still had, while the car was still kind of turning. That would be a time penalty, most assured. And again, for me, on the controller, I do use the throttle a lot, to, quote unquote, steer the car. So if I feel like the front's pushing a little bit, I can just let off the throttle, and it usually will either get the front to grip up a little bit more, or it might rotate the back out a little bit. I think I'm turning in a little too early there. Why then I'm having to kind of back out of the throttle to adjust my exit. Okay, discretion's better part of valor. Ooh. Yeah, you want to really be careful. If you have to do throttle adjustments coming up through a Rouge and Medallion, be very careful how fast you come out of the throttle and how much you come out of the throttle, because that can do more to might cause upset the car even more. You just only need to maybe crack the throttle a little bit just to help get the car stable. See me, see me, see me. I'll go to lap 8. Okay. A lot of front tire here. Yeah, there was a little bit of a harsh turn to the left to crest the hill. You just heard the left front tire come off the ground and then bump back on the pavement. A little bit too early in the turn. First radical we've seen. Hey. Yeah, the car got a little unsettled as I came off the curb. Stupid radical and all your downforce. Take that. Consistently inconsistent. Oh, take a shot. So yeah, since I was on the inside there, it made more sense for me to drop down to second. Just to give the car, again, it gets the car up on its toes a little bit more. I'm not going to work too hard to try and pass him since he's fifth. I'm not getting as clean of an in-lap as maybe I would have wanted. Don't hit the inside wall there. Alright, we'll see what we'll be out the field, probably still towards the back, but still a lot of cars to pit, I think. So, pit exit, again, when you get released, you still want to turn slightly to the right. Keep it in the pit exit there. Then you're back on the racing line. And cold tires. So yeah, that first time out of the pits, you probably need to slow down a little bit more than what you were used to. Right there. I don't know why the Bronner Hawks keep putting wide in those. Whoa! A little bit of a tank slide there. Hi, Fizzgig. Eddie's racing. A bit late there. I had to mute the mic there for a second. Got all sorts of sideways at Blanchemont, and holy crap, that's a line of cars in front of me. Got 5 laps to work through, though. I didn't do that well. I was looking to go to the right side and then just didn't get there soon enough for him to take his normal line out. That downshift to second is, if you're going straight, is fine. But if you've got any kind of weight aside, you know, if you're turning in as you're doing that, that will cause the back end to pitch out a little bit. All right, let's see what we can do here. But again, you know, it's C cars are definitely the quickest cars out here, but and the AI just is not overly aggressive in traffic, at least against help. What? Radical pulls him up a little bit, long enough for me to do that. Thank you very much. Buffeting. So yeah, that inside move there heading into Blanchemont will be sketchy just because of how the car's going to bounce around a little bit. And we're probably going to take a look. Oh no, he's holding back. Whoa, sorry. Alright, fine. Other side of the bottom of the hill, can we do it? Yes, we can, but only because he backed out. Come on, you're faster, go by him. Yeah, there's better through there. Really shouldn't have pushed that Jaguar through. I'm assuming the guys up front still have to pit. What I really need to be able to do is match, get by both those guys. Maybe that same move I did last lap down at Blanchemont. Kind of use that radical as a pick. Hold a Jag and allow me to get by both of them. And again, I did that, if you notice that time, I did, as I turned in, as I was going by him, just that little brief lift and back on the throttle, just to kind of, you know, take the torque out of the wheels and try and keep the front end down. Hopefully Radical keeps that bag back here a little bit longer. Any chance bag eliminate. But afraid. Yeah, he got by. And I was watching IndyCar practice at Portland today, and one of the commentators, I think it was Townsend Bell, was talking about as they were looking at kind of like the leaderboard of who was quickest in practice, and I think he kind of summed it up. I'm going to paraphrase it, but kind of summed it up as like, for practice, who cares? It's not about, and it doesn't count towards anything. The being quickest in practice doesn't count toward anything. It's all about getting a good feel in the car and getting consistent feel with the car. I think it's the same thing here. It's like, I know a lot of times in practicing, yeah, we want to know what lap times everybody's running, but at the end of the day, the main thing is if you're a little bit slower on an outright pace, but then you can then rattle those laps off consistently, whereas somebody else might run a really, really fast lap and then mess up and have really, really slow laps because they're making mistakes, because they're pushing too hard. Consistency is going to be key, and not like that. First, wow, that was really bad. All right, so come out in front of those couple of radicals. I'm going to keep to the inside. The apex block the exit. And okay, well clear of the traffic. Up to third place. The AI, I'm not going to be able to be just the left and middle. He doesn't have a run anyway. Again, his strength is he's going to outbrake me and out-corner me. So what I want to try and do is take away apexes, take away braking possibilities where maybe he can outbrake me on the outside. Kind of like what that Salver did at Sebring, where it's like, yeah, I want to go to the inside for turn one, and he's like, fine, I'll just power around you on the outside. Wow, I got a good exit there, and I think top end we're about equal. I think he's running high downforce there. Ooh, that was interesting. Okay, one left to go. Well, I'm not going to catch the guys in front. It's definitely then a battle for third. Definitely got a better run there. See how the back kind of kicked out a little bit as I went to second? Damn you and your downforce. And that's Spa in the GT40 for our TNT season. The whole time 35 minutes. Okay. So, you know, that was 15 laps. Might be looking around 30, depending on how your times kind of line out or your practice speeds. But yeah, I would say if you're going to practice and you want to run a full race length, 30 laps is probably going to be in the ballpark. But that's kind of the track guide for Spa. Again, you know, Sebring was flat, or it was pretty stable. Stay off the curbs. Spa, kind of the opposite. You can use a lot of the curbs. There's just those one or two towards the end of the lap where it can unsettle the car a little bit because they're a little bit ridged. But there's a lot more elevation changes, which will kind of play with the front end of the car. So, and just fair warning, if for as much as the car is going to move around here and that you're going to be playing with it, it's going to be even more extreme when we get to the Nordschleife. But that's another track guide for another week. So, hope you guys have a great Labor Day weekend. Sorry I can't race with you guys this season, but have a great race on Thursday, and talk to you soon.